Water Buffalo TM is back with another Buff Talk.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Old School Matt here. I'm back with another Buff Talk, and today I'm joined by a lovely guest of mine. She's been on the show many times, and she's always around me.
One time.
My lovely girlfriend, Annika Hansen. Well, we did another podcast, and I haven't put it out yet. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But I don't even know where it is, but it was a good one. Anyways, we're going to be doing a podcast today on religion and religion in our life and why we feel like it's important. And without further ado, I'm going to let her kind of take the lead on this podcast, and I'm going to take the back seat. So why don't you tell everyone out there, babe, what do you believe in and your religious value system?
I have always been a Christian, I think ever since I was little, because my mom has been a Christian since I was little. She came to Christ when my older sister was a baby. And so my whole childhood, we were raised with the Bible, with God, with going to church. And I've just never really known anything else. I think when I was like 5 or 6 was when I started to understand more about it, but we were always in church. And then when I was in middle school, I started getting more involved in like youth groups, and throughout high school, I would go to mission trips and volunteered a lot in church. And I was always very heavily involved in that. But I think when you grow up in it, since you were young, you tend to not be as tight-knit in a Christian religion, especially like in the type that I grew up in, kind of non-denominational, more centered around like fun. So for me, I didn't start taking it super seriously until probably end of high school. And then more so seriously, I'm taking it now than I ever was before.
What church did you start going to?
I went to Christ Fellowship. I went to Life Church when I was very little. My mom didn't like it there, so we switched to Christ Fellowship, and I had been there ever since I was in elementary school until I was in college, but we went back and forth between a couple of different churches that just ended up failing or didn't end up lasting very long.
So I started as a Catholic, and Catholicism and Christianity are obviously pretty close in their beliefs. I mean, the core values of our belief systems are pretty much the same. But Annika had shown me the way of believing in having a personal relationship with God outside of the church, and that seemed like it was a more fit type of lifestyle for me. So I don't know if I want to say I converted, but I definitely changed a lot of my belief systems. I don't go to a Catholic church anymore, and it's been very interesting. It's been probably we've been together for like 2 years now, so like almost 2 years since we started going to church together. So that's always great. And the first thing that I thought was very interesting about the Christian church was that they allowed for kind of like a more relaxed environment. And I always questioned that. I've had other people try to take me to those churches before, and I was kind of weary of that. But I think it just depends on the type of church you go to. And the churches that you brought me to were less like fun and good times. They were a little bit more like kickback, relax, like you can drink coffee during the service type of thing. But I think the two churches that we've been to while we've been together, Journey Church and now Good Soil Church, are definitely like the good sweet spot between like having enough, freedom to like kind of, not be super quiet in church in terms of like the way you sing and the way you express yourself, but also not being like, I don't know, I've never really been to Christ Fellowship. I've been like once or twice, but they're not like a party jump house, right?
Christ Fellowship?
No, I'm saying like compared to like what we go to.
Compared to Christ Fellowship, I would say that Journey Church was less of a party jump house.
I don't know why I use that word, but you know what I mean.
But Good Soil is nothing of the sort. We go to a home church now, which is run by our pastor, Dave Smith, who is also a full-time emergency room medical doctor. And they just started their own church. They felt called to it after they were leading a marriage small group for a long time. And it's grown a lot in the past how long have they been open? A year now? I think on Christmas Eve it'll be a whole year. Christmas Eve was their first
with the church,
service. Right? We started with we pretty much started with a church, like a month after they opened. But it's just great, they built their church off of the old Bible church, the way that church was supposed to be conducted according to the Bible. They do a service where somebody speaks, and then they do communion, like community afterwards, where you just hang out and you mingle with other people, and so you have a community of people around you, and everyone's supposed to know each other and get along and be there for each other in times of needs. It's different than in mega churches and big churches where you go and you leave. It's more tight knit and everybody knows each other and cares about each other. And besides that, I think the big thing that pulled them away and everybody that goes to that church away from the big churches was just the drawing in of people through cultural trends. So like they would play a lot of secular music and they would try to keep up with the times to be relevant. And a lot of the families and our pastors just didn't agree with that, because as a church, we just don't believe that you are supposed to fit in with the culture. I think you're supposed to be outside of culture. You're supposed to be kind of like an example. And if you're fitting in with a culture, it's just not the way that God intended for it to be. And so, in a church, in a child care setting, we just didn't believe that you were supposed to play those types of secular songs, even if they didn't have any bad words or anything like that. So it just kind of drew them to start their own thing. We're going there now. It's a great experience. It's nothing against Journey Church or Christ Fellowship. If that's where you belong, that's where you belong. But personally, we just felt this was a better fit for us.
I definitely agree. I think it's one of the most engaged I've been with my religion in my entire life. And I was confirmed and I had my communion as a Catholic. I went to Sunday school and I did all that as a Catholic. I think there was a lot of issues I had with the Catholic Church, and I still do, but I don't want to get into those on this podcast. This is more about just the religion in and of itself. But I think that for the most part, joining a small church was definitely one of the most eye-opening experiences in terms of my knowledge for God and whatnot, because it's a lot easier to talk to the pastor, and the message that is said every Sunday is typically a little bit longer, and there's not really much room for anything else other than just singing and, well, I guess you call it worship and the sermon or the lecture. But when you go to other churches, there's the Catholic Church, there's a lot of ritual that goes into the services. So there's a lot of fluff, and you really only get a 15 or 20 minute message. It's not the same at Journey. Journey has it's pretty good, but I just feel like with a smaller church, there's not a lot of time for extra stuff. It's just here's the worship, here's the word, and then that's it. There's
that's true. They really don't do a lot of introductions. They don't do
this week we're doing that. I mean, they kind of, but not really. It's not to the point to where it's they have events and stuff like that every day or every week. So it's more of just hey, here's a message, here's a word, and then we get to enjoy some time at the guy or our pastor's house after, Dr. Dave's house. So it's really interesting. It's a great church. If anyone's in the Wellington area and interested in joining, just hit me up or hit Annika up.
Yeah, because it is a home church, so they don't put their address out for everybody to see. But honestly, we're always inviting people there. It's a great place for anybody. I'm trying to get a lot of younger people, not kids, but younger people there. I'm always telling Matt to invite his friends. So if any of his friends are watching, know that I'm the one influencing him to ask you. So come. But I think that for me, I was always supportive of Matt being in the Catholic faith, even though I've known a lot of people who are Catholics, and I think that a lot of people who are Catholics aren't practicing Catholics. So when I met Matt and met his family, they were very practicing Catholics, and that was different for me. I'd never really met somebody who said they were a Catholic and then actually were a Catholic. But for me, it just never really fit in with me. I could never understand Catholicism in the way that it was, because I don't believe that you need to speak to somebody else to speak to God. According to the Bible, that's just not accurate, that you have to go through a priest or confess your sins. In my personal opinion, I think that you have a relationship with the Lord himself, and that's your business. And so for us, it's we just center more around having our own relationship with the Lord, you know, reading the Bible, getting to know him. And I also think that I got Matt for his birthday a Bible and a devotional, and I think that it helps a lot to have your own Bible, to read it yourself, to learn it yourself instead of relying on a pastor to preach it to you. Even though our pastor is very knowledgeable and we get a lot of information from him, but I think that it's very important for yourself to also, you know, read the Bible and get into the word yourself, because it changes your life in a different way than if you're hearing it from somebody else. You might interpret some scriptures differently than the pastor would. What
would you say is the most, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about Christians? Or anybody, like Christians, Catholic, because I still see us all as like one religion.
I think a lot of people think that Christians or religious people are kind of pretentious and like think of themselves as above. I think a lot of people are, but if you are truly a real Christian, it's almost the opposite of what a lot of people assume, because, you know, we know that nobody is perfect and we're all just trying to do our best, and we're all just trying to live based on the morals that God provides for us in the best way that we can. So I think that everybody just needs to, and I don't want to say everybody just needs to give it a try, but I think that it really does change your life in a better way. And so, yeah, I don't know. If you think that, like, I understand why some people think that Christians are like annoying or like think that they're better than everybody else, but, you know, personally, I think if you're doing it the right way, it's the opposite.
Why do you think people don't believe in God?
I have no idea. Personally, I can't imagine not believing in God.
Can I say it or no?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Snowshoe.
Say it.
Oh,
say what you want to say. Say what you want to say.
That's fine?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to, like your dad, for example, he doesn't believe in God.
Yeah, my dad doesn't believe in God. I really don't know why my dad doesn't believe. Okay. Personally, for my dad, I think he just has some deep-rooted personal trauma with, like, religion. I think that he just is... I think he'll believe in anything but God.
He didn't, like, get molested or anything. So
No. He didn't, like, get molested or anything, but I think that he just has a lot of resentment towards religion and God in general. I think he believes that there's a God, but I don't think that he is on good terms with God, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that he...
Do you think most people are like that, or most people are just ignorant?
I think there's a lot of people that don't believe that there's a God in general, which to me is just unfathomable. I can't imagine that nobody... Like, I can't imagine that somebody would not believe in a God. But I think there are people that are just mad at God and just don't want to believe. I think there are people that don't want to believe in... But even that, like, if I say I don't think that people want to believe in God, I think it's crazy that there are people that don't want to believe in God, but that will believe in, like, crystals and, like, energies and, like, spirits, but not God. Because like, where does God come from if you believe in energies and spirits? And, like, it all kind of goes together. And all of those are actually evil spirits that you're putting all of your energy into. And so, personally, I don't know why people choose not to believe in God. I think that for me, there's just no other option. For me, I can't imagine anything else. I can't imagine a world without God in it. But for my dad, I think, and for a lot of other people, I think it's either that you are just oblivious, you just choose not to, you just choose not to believe in God, or...
Yeah, I think your dad... I don't think your dad is ignorant to the fact that there is a God. I think your dad does believe in, like, some type of higher power.
My dad definitely believes in a higher power. My dad believes in like everything crazy in the world.
Yeah, but there's some people out there that, like, just literally don't believe in any higher power. They just believe, like, we are formed from, like...
Yeah, they believe that we're, like, on a floating rock. We're like a stardust.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. How do you think you can convert somebody to from? How would you convert someone from that doesn't believe in God to believing in God?
I don't know.
In 30 seconds, I'll do it too. Like, if you have 30 seconds, what would you say? You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. Well, yeah, you go first.
Okay. I'd probably say, you want to start the timer? Let me see if I can elevator pitch God.
30 seconds. There you go.
Think about the worst time you've ever been in your entire life, and think about the things that got you through that bad time. And typically bad times don't last forever, and it's because in my personal opinion, there's somebody out there that is watching over you. There's an entity that's watching over you. And if you have the ability to take some time to read the Holy Gospel and the Bible, you'll realize that a lot of the energy that comes from there and a lot of the phrases and different parts of the Bible will apply to the hard times and good times of your life.
That was like 30 seconds on the dot.
Yeah. But so basically I would talk to them about dark moments and good moments in their life, and I would ask them if they had it within them to read a little bit of scripture and like just look up like motivational quotes from the Bible or something, and then realize like how well some of those things fits into like your life when you're going through like hard times, you know. I don't know, like God is my rock, and like some different I'm like blanking, but some different scriptures you can read, some stories about like overcoming, like David and Goliath overcoming like crazy obstacles with some sort of hope or power from something else. Like, so I don't think people don't realize it, but I think a lot of people that don't believe in God like subconsciously have thoughts about somebody helping them out outside of themselves.
Somebody helping them out, or their origin, like where did they come from? Like how did everything come to be? I think it's really hard to believe in evolution if you really think about it on a deeper level. I think if I were to try to convert somebody to Christianity, I would just be like, you believe truly that, an asteroid hit, what is it, another asteroid, or is it the planet? Like, was our planet already here? If our planet was already here, where did our planet come from? Everything just already existed. Where did the asteroid come from? Where did space come from? Like, how does everything exist the way that it does? And then if you think about, okay, then fine, an asteroid hit our planet, and then a bunch of cells made the most intricate thing to ever exist. Like a bunch of random occurrences created DNA eventually. Everything just evolved. And then you add a bunch of millions of years, and then all of a sudden you have humans. And I just think that's so out of this world. I think at some point you just have to think to yourself, like, God created this world and everything in it to be exactly perfect the way that it is. Everything works together. Like
some people believe that to be true because there's science that backs it up, which I can't argue with somebody. That's why I wouldn't go the science routes, because like if you know your stuff, like I'm not going to be able to combat you. I don't know.
Not really though, because like a lot of people know a little bit of science, and that's, I don't even know who said it. I think that there was somebody who said it, but there's a quote that goes, a little bit of science disproves creation, but a lot of science proves it. Because
Ken Ham.
Yeah, I think probably that's who it was, because a lot of people think they know a little bit of science, but right, even science itself should prove God exists, just because everything is so intricately designed. Even us as human beings, the way that women and men are, the way that the world exists around us, the way that animals exist and nature exists, like everything is so perfectly designed to work and in a balance. Obviously, humans over time have really disrupted this equilibrium that exists in the world that God created to be this way. But I believe that God knew that was going to happen, as he is an all-knowing God, and prepared us for that the way that we are prepared for it. But if I were to try to convert somebody, I would probably just be like, I mean, and then you could always ask somebody, where do you think that you go after death? Do you think that your body just decomposes and that's it? Like, how do you have, if your body was just a body that decomposes, what happens to the rest of you? What happens to your soul? Like, and you have a soul, and you have a mind, and you have a spirit, and you have like all of these things that create who you are, that create your personality, that create your persona, that create your, like, where do your morals come from? Who created morals? Like, if there wasn't a God, and a perfect God who wanted us all to live these lives based on the Bible, which is just a book to guide us in life, to live a fulfilled life, then where did morals come from? Why would we have right and wrong?
Yeah. Like, well, some people think that morals and standards come from like societies put that on us, but I can't agree more. I mean, I think that like for you to think that all the things that construed for us to be human beings right now, and the chances that like there's one earth and there's all this stuff, perfect climate, perfect oxygen, whatever.
Yeah, like we're the perfect distance away from the sun, we're the perfectly warm, perfectly cold.
Versus someone versus a creator just creating it that way. For you to think that the chances of all these things happening like consistently over and over again,
it's
versus
just,
like
you need so much more to happen randomly to follow evolution. Like you need so many more random events to create us now. Then it would be so much harder to believe in that than it would to just believe that somebody created us to be the way that
and then
we are
people
now.
will discredit like Noah's Ark and the story of like Moses splitting the Red Sea. But like, I mean, if there was a God, just believe for a second that there was a God. If you're watching this, you don't believe in God, like obviously he'd be able to do those things. Like that's not very difficult. Like those are very like simplistic things. I was a creator of a world. I would be able to like figure out how to make a ship, or I'd be able to help somebody split a sea open, versus creating something from nothing and then creating human life that is emotional, self-conscious, ever like, I don't even know what the word is. It's like everything's different. Every human being is different by like billions and trillions of cells, right?
Yeah.
I don't know much about biology, but I know that our DNA is like mine and your DNA is vastly different. Mine and my sister's DNA are vastly different, and we're related. So imagine that on a scale of billions of people, like the chances of that coming up from, you know, a nick in matter, an explosion or whatever the Big Bang is. That's why. I mean, like I said, I can't say if I had an astrophysicist come on here or had a conversation with them, they'd be able to explain to me all these calculations and why it was possible. But I just can't really see that to be true. And also that it happens according to scientists so long ago. Is like, how do you know that the laws of our world worked in that sense, in that moment, at such a pivotal time of creation? It's just so confusing. Why can't you? I would just be like, it's so much easier, and also it makes so much more sense to say, okay, there was a creator, and the creator can do whatever. If you're a software developer, you're an architect, and you build a building. If you're someone who builds something and you have the tools to build it, you can essentially do whatever you want with what's inside of your creation. You can destroy it, you can add things to it, you can mold it, you can form it, whatever. So if you can do that with your own, hands, mind, whatever, what doesn't make you think that if there's an extra, I don't want to say extraterrestrial, but there's a almighty power, why wouldn't they be able to do some of the things that were written in the Bible? Those seem like so like, oh my God, God can do that. Of course he can do that. He can do anything. Yeah.
And God always existed. And I just lost my train of thought. Oh no, I was going to say, they just keep adding billions of years to things to try to make it make sense, because truly, realistically, it doesn't make sense. Evolution just doesn't make sense. Evolution, generally, you could argue with me, I'm sure. I don't care much for it, especially because for me, I've never really had to argue for my faith, simply just because in my heart, like, I know that there is a God, because I've been raised so close to the Lord, and I've seen the differences in my life. Like, I've seen the stages that I've walked through where I wasn't close with God compared to the stages that I've walked through where I was close with God. And you just see the differences in your personality, in the way that you go about the world, in the way that you act, in the way that you treat others, and like how your attitudes and how happy you are, and how much brighter of a person you are, how much more life is inside of you when you're close to the Lord. Because truly, like, our hearts and our souls, like, they know our Creator. Like, our hearts and our souls know God, because God is who created us, and God is the only person in our lives who can fulfill us. Not even a person. God is the only thing in our lives who can truly fulfill us and make us whole, and so that we can pour from that full cup out to other people. That's the way that He designed us to be. When you're not on that path, and you're trying to please the world, and you're trying to follow society and culture, and you're just losing your way, because culture changes all the time. God, and what God says, what the Bible says, it's consistent. And if you follow what the Bible says, you follow like the laws and practices that He put in place for you, your life will be inherently better. It's like, I can't argue with it, because if you go out and you start chasing, party life, or you start chasing people that aren't going to fulfill you, or you start chasing jobs or careers that aren't going to fulfill you, you're just always chasing something instead of just resting in like who God made you to be and who God made you to you know, what God made you to be. Like, so for me, I just can't really argue that, like, I've never had to argue with somebody besides the fact that I just know he exists, you know, and it's made my life so much better. And I've seen God transform other people's lives in a lot of different ways. And even seeing Matt, like, grow so much closer to the Lord just since actually learning about, like, the Bible and learning about God himself. You just, like, you can tell in people's lives. So I think the biggest testimony to God is just the way that it changes others and the way that you see other people's lives change, even in itself.
Yeah, I was going to say something. I had a thought. I mean, me and her, we both love to watch cool movies. We like superhero movies and stuff, and they're fun and whatever for the time being. But a lot of people are like obsessed with like Marvel and like DC and I don't know, whatever other comic books are out there, like sci-fi movies. And they like worship these movies like they're, you know, the next, you know, it's like their god, like Spider-Man or I don't even know, Iron, whatever, superheroes, Thor.
Something, anything. People worship, everybody worships something in life, whether it's money, whether it's, you know, movies, whether it's
we'll go on
music.
to that, but let me finish my thought.
Go finish it.
No, it's just interesting because I was thinking about it when you were talking about it. It's like they worship these things that don't even exist, and they're like, people will dress up like fucking Spider-Man, and the people will go to these conventions, and they'll go to the movies and watch the movie like 15 times, 20 times. But like at the end of their life, like, what did Spider-Man, what did Batman, what did, you know, fucking whatever movie or like fake, you know, book or whatever you read, Magic Treehouse, I don't know what people read. You know what I'm talking about? Like, people love fiction and they love fake things. Like, at the end of your life, why did you believe that these things were so great when they, one, don't even exist, and two, when you're on your deathbed and you're about to die and you've been worshiping these, you know, I guess they're called pagan figures.
Pagan, yeah.
Like, why would any human being want to worship those things before worshiping a god? Like, obviously we think they're cool, like, but these people will go and like think that these things are so like fake things, like what's another one, Harry Potter and stuff, and all this weird, you know, stuff that, you know, they're cool to watch and stuff, but at the end of your life, what does it do for you? Where does it bring you? It brings you absolutely nowhere.
It brings you nowhere. Actually, it brings you down.
Yeah. And why would you not want to believe in the cool and the greatness of a god? Like, there's literally, you know, it's whatever, he can fucking swing webs in a movie and this guy plays it. It's funny, it's cool, but like, why would you not want to worship a real god who has real superpowers and something that can change your afterlife and your life infinitely forever? And it happens. A lot of people that believe in, like, they really like that stuff, they're like atheists, and you know, they don't really it's kind of sad, you know. So, and they'll make fun of other people, like, oh, how do you believe that Jesus walked on water? How do you believe that God created the world? You're dumb. And then they go fucking watch these movies like all the time, and they're like obsessed with these comic book characters and these wizards and stuff. And I don't know.
But those kinds of same people are the ones that believe in like spirits and entities and ghosts and like all those other things. If you believe in one aspect of the spiritual realm, why is it so hard for you to believe in a god?
So Halloween and music. We'll go to music first, and then you get into Halloween.
Well, just because Matt was just saying about how people tend to worship these worldly things, for me, that brings me onto like present day music and just the celebrities that we worship right now, and how just genuinely evil they are, and how we will pay so much money to go see them in a show that is just like all about Are you taking a picture?
No.
That is just all about like hell. Like, pretty much, basically, it is. I mean, it just brings us to the Travis Scott concert where a bunch of people died, and it was like, and you just see, like, for me, I see it through spiritual eyes, okay? And so it gives me a little bit of a different perspective. I see it for what it is. You see a lot of upside down crosses. You see a lot of fire. You see a lot of the opposite of the Lord and the opposite of light, because God is light. So when you're partaking in this, when you're listening to this music that is just so secular, so evil, it brings this negative energy into your life. And people still worship this because we are made to worship. As human beings, we're made to worship because we're made to worship the Lord. But if we're not worshiping the Lord, and if we don't believe in God, we worship other things, and that brings us down really bad paths, because Satan is really the king of the world. And so we everything in this world is meant to lead us away from God. And that's why being a Christian in this world is not easy. It's actually why God says that we will have struggles in this life, because we are not living in a world that is ruled by God. We're living in a world that we are trying to follow the laws of the Lord while being tempted by Satan everywhere we turn. And so it just brings me to that, like, be careful what you listen to and what you watch, because it really changes the energy in your life. I can just tell you right now, when I listen to secular music or music that doesn't fill me up inside, like I listen mostly, the only two genres of music I listen to are worship music and country music. That's the only two genres. I don't listen to rap. I don't listen to like I don't listen to Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion. I don't listen to any of these like.
I wouldn't be with you if you listen to that type of music.
I know, but I don't listen to any of these like crazy. I don't even know their names anymore. Like, what are their names? What are some secular artists nowadays?
I don't know. I like a couple EDM artists, and I like salsa music.
But EDM is different because EDM doesn't really have words. But like a lot of these words, I'm just talking about rap, but even just generally, a lot of like the heartbreak songs or the breakup songs that are like wishing poorly upon somebody, or like the ABCDEFU song. That was a big one, like fuck you and your mom and your sister and like, who says that? Like, who would want to say that in a song, and then we have these teenagers. Is that the same
people we went to go see at Sunfest?
At Sunfest?
Yeah. Is that the same group?
No. We went to see AJR. That's not the one. This is a girl song. But like, why would you sing? We have a bunch of teenagers and even kids like singing this like ABCDEFU song.
Some people are going to be like, it's just a song. It's just a song.
Yeah, but you're singing it and you're speaking it into your life. And because you're speaking this into your life, and there's worse. A lot of people rap worse things, speak worse things into their lives. And it just brings bad energy. And that's on you. But personally, I just don't partake in that. And so, back to our topic. We were just about to start talking about Halloween, because just recently we went to something opposite of Halloween. And we pretty much started a pact that we're not ever going to partake in that holiday. I never really liked Halloween, and I just said I'm not.
I never really liked Halloween either. I thought it was kind of weird. Not really because of the demonic aspects of it, but when you look into the origins of Halloween, it is kind of like it's kind of sketchy when you look up what it was and why it was celebrated. I don't think that people do it because they're celebrating Satan. I just think that people do it because they conform to societies. Whatever society says you got to do. I always just thought it was weird for like people over the age of like 12 to dress up and go out, and especially now, like people
I still think it's weird now. Even if it's not Halloween, I still think it's like weird to like dress up as like things. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
But
people like to have fun. They like to do things, but Halloween in of itself, I think Halloween is a satanic holiday. I think that, I don't think I know that it has roots in like witchcraft and sorcery and all this type of black magic type of shit. But that's why I personally won't celebrate Halloween anymore. I haven't celebrated Halloween since I was probably, I don't even know, high school, at some point in high school.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter as much for us. It just matters kind of for like our children and like our future and what we're gonna expose children to later in life, So
yeah, you had a point the other day about how like, why are you going to scare your kids? And it's funny because I don't know, did you see that video that was going around on social media of like kids getting scared
in the school?
Yes,
with the mask. Yeah,
and those ladies got arrested.
Yeah,
but then parents will willingly take their kids to go trick or treating, and those kids will get scared in the streets. So like,
well, you just really never know. It's already not a light, happy holiday. You can make it that way. You can dress your kid up as a bee, but like, where are you taking them? Like, you don't know whose houses you're taking them to trick or treat. You don't know who those people are, what they're going to dress up as, what they partake in. Like, you just don't know these people. And like, why are we doing all of this for candy? These kids are not going to care when they're 15 if they ever partook in Halloween, if they ever were dressed up as something when they were young. Like, I never cared. If anything, I dreaded having to dress up for Halloween and go parade myself around to ask people for candy. Like, why do we care about that, And so I just think for kids, it's just make a different tradition. Like, do something else for your family that benefits you in a different way that isn't partaking in one of the most evil holidays to ever exist.
Yeah, I think nowadays Halloween is just an excuse for people in their mid-20s and 30s to go out and get drunk. It's like
it's just an excuse for a lot of girls to dress up in like half of clothes and then go out and get drunk. Yeah.
I mean, everyone after you, I would say after you get out of school. When I say school, I mean like university, whether that's master's, PhD, whatever, bachelor's. I think that people just find days to like go out and get fucked up because they want to like.
Well, even in college.
Yeah,
it's
well, I'm
big
saying,
in college.
of course, but I'm saying like after you graduate college, some people feel like, well, damn, I'm out of college. I can't really be a loser anymore. I can't go out. But then they'll be like, well, it's a Super Bowl, so I got to go out because it's a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, it's Halloween. I got to go out because it's Halloween. Oh, it's, I don't know, fucking whatever other holiday. It's New Year's, whatever. Like, there's certain things. It's, you know, it's a birthday. It's this person's birthday. So, like, I feel like Halloween's just another excuse for people, you know, around our age, maybe a little older than us, to like, oh, well, I have to go out. You know, I have to. It's Halloween. Like, who doesn't dress up on Halloween? So it's just like an excuse for them to let loose and be a degenerate. But that's another conversation. But yeah, so I definitely am going to vow to not really partake in any type of secular holidays as I have children. I mean, it's not just Halloween though; it's like Easter too, like the Easter Bunny.
The Easter Bunny. They've tried to make everything about everything but God. You know, they've really tried to take God out of everything, and we're just not doing that. You know, every holiday to us should be celebrating God.
What about Santa Claus?
If it isn't, then
is that bad? I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it. But is that like a bad thing?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I don't think
because it comes from Saint Nicholas. Is
yeah.
that why? But that's also, I mean, if you think about it, it's also like, why are we celebrating this fucking random guy who doesn't really exist?
Well, we're not really celebrating him. They just believe that he comes and gives them gifts.
Yeah,
they're not really celebrating him. I think that you can have a balance, like on Christmas, if you say, like, this is why we're celebrating Christmas, not to make it all about gifts. But then you can still have that little, like, surprise factor where it's like, and kids don't believe in that stuff.
Why was it never that, like, Jesus brought us gifts or something? I don't know. Why do they use Santa Claus? I was saying, like, God brought you gifts. That would have been a better, like, I don't know. But then
probably
I feel
would've.
What?
It probably would have been a better idea. But
like God is giving you gifts on the day that He had His son born. But I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not against Santa Claus. I don't want people to watch this podcast and be like, "This guy's crazy." These two are fucking nuts.
I don't think that Santa Claus is evil. I just think that, you know, don't make it all about gifts on Christmas. I think it's more important to raise your kids to believe that Christmas is about more than just getting presents, and so is Easter. Like, educate your kids on the real meanings of these holidays and why we celebrate these things. Why do we celebrate Thanksgiving besides just eating a bunch of food? Like, why do we have that?
Thanksgiving
holiday,
is a good holiday, though. Right?
Of course. I'm just saying, like, make sure that your kids understand, like, the roots of these things instead of just seeing it for like what it is.
A lot of people that don't believe in God steal the holidays of Jesus, and they celebrate them on their own, which I actually think is kind of selfish. Like, you're either in or you're out. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you believe in Jesus, and you believe that the reason that we're celebrating this holiday, or you're like, you know, I don't know. Maybe you can celebrate holidays as a non-believer, but I feel like it's kind of funny because if anyone's a atheist that celebrates like Easter or Christmas, it's like kind of like fuck you to them. Like, you're celebrating this holiday. You don't believe in God, but you're really celebrating because of God.
Yeah.
And our whole time system set up on Jesus's birth, and like there's a lot of different things in society that are based on Christian beliefs. And we kind of forgot that. A lot of people forget that's why the United States of America was formed, because a lot of the pioneers, or I don't know if they're pioneers, founding fathers, they're all Christians.
Believes in the Lord, yeah.
Yeah, they're all Christians, and you know the reason why a lot of like right wing conservative beliefs are the way they are too is really like Christian values, and you know a lot of different things. Not even just like abortion or whatever, but like even like taxes and stuff. I think the Bible says tax is evil.
And just our fundamental human rights, you know, that the founding fathers believed that we had based on Christianity, you know, and the rights that we have as humans that God has given us. And it was like that for so many, like for such a long time, we had God in our society, and then they took it out. They took it out of our school systems. They took it out of our country in general. You know, we don't have to say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. And I think I haven't been alive for like that long to say, but I think in the past couple of years we've seen a very, very, very straight downward spiral in our country. especially in our youth. I think our youth has never been more lifeless, more like have less of morals than they used to have. Like, our youth is just so lost, and I see it every day. And I've never noticed it as much as I notice it now. And I walk around and I see people my little sister's age, like in high school, and I just look at them and I'm like, where's the life in your eyes? Like, where's the joy? Like, where do you find happiness? You know, what are you striving for? That has a lot to do with social media and just seeking approval and a lot of these different things. But I also just think it has a lot to do with a lot of our youth not knowing God anymore and just not having that moral compass and that guidance and that love and support in their life, and that knowing that somebody loves them so much. You know, I think that's another thing. Like, we worship all these different things, but why don't you worship somebody who literally like gave their life for you? Somebody who wants only the best for you. Someone who is always there, like if you need them and when you need them. Like, God is always, always, always there for you and always has your best interest at heart. And like, we don't want to acknowledge that. We don't want to treat him as such, but we will worship all of these evil things that don't even know who we are, you know? So it makes me sad. It makes me really sad, you know? And I'm always trying to push my little sister closer towards the Lord. She's already a Christian, but I just think it's so important, especially in our youth nowadays, to like just know God, because it just makes your life so much better at a young age. It keeps you from going down the wrong path. When you're young, you make a lot of bad decisions already. So
what would you say is like, because a lot of people might be afraid of having a relationship with God because they're like either afraid that they're not going to get through to him, or maybe they've tried before and like they just haven't got the good end of the stick. Like, what would you say is like I don't know, a good way to get with God? Just prayer? Or do you think reading the Bible is important too? I think that was one of the biggest things that changed things for me, was reading the Bible.
Yeah, reading the Bible is a big thing. A lot of people don't do it though, because it requires some kind of commitment to get up at a certain time, or to remember to read it, or to carve out some time in your day to spend with God by reading his word. So a lot of people don't really do that. I think though a big thing to implement into your life is like listening to worship music. If you're not a worship music person, like Matt is not one of those people, but for me it makes a huge difference. Like, I can tell you, if I'm listening to worship music on the way to work, it changes my entire day. Like, I'm not even joking. It's just, it makes me happier and it makes me more unbothered. It makes me way more patient and kind, I think. But
there's joy in that.
I don't know. I would say just start praying, you know, like God is in your heart, whether like you have to ask him into your heart. We believe that truly you ask the Lord to live in your heart, but he always wants to be there. So it's really just up to you. You know, it's entirely your decision whether you want to let God into your life. But once you do let God into your life, just try to be close to him. You know, I would say read the Bible. Reading the Bible makes a huge difference. But I mean, if you aren't committed to that.
I would agree. I think that really what changed. I think devotionals are good too.
Yeah.
I have a devotional that I read every day, and that is a good way to summarize what you're going to read, because if you read the Bible, it can be kind of intimidating sometimes. Sometimes you'd be like, what the hell are these people trying to say, or what the hell is this trying to say?
Yeah.
But if you read something with someone who has had experience with that, and like, I'm pretty sure the people who write the devotionals have studied the Bible for a long time, and they break it down, so you're able to like really understand what they're saying or what God is saying through the word. But I think that like, just like anything else, like you can't just pray to God and expect for like, you know, results right away. It's like going to the gym and working out hard once and thinking that you're going to be like swole. It's like, you have to put in the work, you have to put in the time. Like, I mean, I've been going to church, even, you know, Catholic church might not be as in depth in terms of the learning as the Christian church, Christian faith, but I've been learning these stories ever since I was a little kid. So, you know, I've been around the Bible for a very long time. I've been around Christ and God and the Holy Spirit for, you know, over 23 years. Like, I mean, I was going to church when I was a baby. Like, I was, you know what I'm saying? So I think that really helps a lot. But you have to stay with it too. It's like, it's like almost any other habit. If you want to have a relationship with God, you have to nurture it. You have to be able to do it every day. You have to have some sort of aspect of it that's tied to your life.
It's like having a relationship with another person. It's like trying to be in a relationship with another human being.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't just go through my whole entire day without, I mean, Matt probably could, but I couldn't go throughout my whole entire day without saying something to him. That wouldn't be a relationship to me. If I went a bunch of days without even speaking to Matt, we wouldn't have the relationship that we do. We wouldn't be close. So you have to make an effort, you know, even though God will never be wrong to you, you know, like even if he doesn't give you what you want, it's always for a better purpose.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to go on live because I wanted to see if anyone had any questions. And there was a couple people watching. Brandon, though, says, reading the word, praying, talking to God throughout your day, and live your life that honors him the best you can. Sometimes people feel like their prayers go to voicemail, but in actuality, sometimes we're calling from the wrong place with no service. I think that's a really good quote. What do you think?
It's a really good quote. Brandon said that?
Yeah. And he says, you change that, you go to a different place, and you'll find service, and he'll answer. So,
yeah. Well, just give it some time, you know, I think. Just be consistent with it and like really be committed to the Lord, and it'll change your life.
100%. Anything else you want to talk about before we close the podcast out? It was really interesting. I mean, maybe we can do like this more often, because I feel like there's so much more things I can say about our religion and the way we, you know, worship God. And obviously we're still growing. We're still young. Like we still have a lot of life to live. But I think that anyone out there that is like struggling, and that's the thing, like if you're struggling with something, like you have mental problems or you have personal problems, financial problems, and you've thrown everything at that. Like you've tried to, let's say you have a financial problem. Let's say you're like, you know, someone's sick and you got to take care of them. You got to pay money out of your pocket and you're not getting paid enough at work. And, you know, you've tried to go back to school and you can't find a job, whatever. You've thrown everything at it, and you really, truly have thrown everything at it. Like at some point you have to just be like, when do I try to look for something else? Like, when do I look for something outside of whatever this earth is? Mm-hmm. You know, some people might find that in like the moon phases and all this crazy magic stuff.
Oh, everything's just going terribly because Mercury is in retrograde, guys.
Yeah.
Everything is going downhill because the moon is not aligned.
But see, people believe in that, but they don't believe in like God is like, kind of makes me wonder what's wrong with people. But anyways, like, yeah, so you have everything. You have these problems. Let's say you have mental health issues, or you have, you know, issues with your parents, or you have issues with siblings or girlfriend, whatever, and you've thrown everything at it. What I'm trying to say is that at some point you've given everything, your problem, your all. Like, why not go seek help with somebody that can actually make a difference in what you're dealing with? Mm-hmm. And some people will never do that. Some people will go through life and they'll struggle forever and ever, and they'll keep doing it. And I do it sometimes too. Sometimes I think that I'm strong enough to get through all the problems that I have, and you probably have done the same. But at some point you have to sit back and say, listen, let me find something, like let me find some God out there. And honestly, you know, we believe in Jesus, we believe in God, but I would rather somebody at least have some sort of belief in a higher power, even if you don't believe in Jesus, even if you don't believe in Christianity. Like, I suggest you at the very least, believe in something. Don't think that, for you to think that we're the only ones on this planet without any extra help from some sort of creator is ignorant of you. And I don't care if you believe in, you know, whatever other religion you believe in. I think that if at least you have to have some sort of belief in a higher power, because at the end of the day, God is real, and God is going to judge us one day.
Right.
And God is real. That's
He
my opinion.
really is going to judge us one day, and that is scary. If that's scary for you, then that's probably because you need to get right with God in some way, shape, or form. You know, and for me, it's just so obvious. Like, the entire world is pushing this anti-God agenda. Like, something is fighting God everywhere in this country right now. Like, just our music, our TV, our movies, like everything in this world fights Christianity. And so for me, it's like, it's obvious, you know?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Any like last little tips or any like word to anyone out there that it might be watching or listening and maybe is a little bit like they're stumbling in their faith? Like, what would you say to them?
You know, I don't know. I would just say I know that Christians can sometimes seem a little bit weird or like
too
silly,
much.
like a little bit too much. They try to push it on you, but truly, it's just because a lot of the time we really are that way. Like, okay, it's a little bit odd. Even me sometimes, and I don't want to be like mean, but like even me sometimes I see another Christian that's just like so over the top, like bubbly happy and like just doing too much, and I'm like, that's a little bit too much. Like, chill out. But like, truly they just are that way, you know, and it's because they believe in God. It's because they have Jesus in their heart that they just are that way. So it's not like coming from a place of like trying to pressure you or trying to like, you know, like convert you into believing in God. It's really just them outwardly expressing how God has made them feel inwardly. And that's great. And I hope everyone gets a chance to experience that. You know, I hope everybody gets a chance to experience the Lord and really get that just peace. Because like when you truly are functioning the way that God has designed us to be, when men and women are functioning in our designed areas in life, the way that we are meant to be, it just makes our lives a whole lot more peaceful. It creates strong, healthy families. It creates strong individuals, and it just makes life better. Personally, for me, I don't know if that's the same for you, but I
talking about me or who's listening?
No, everybody listening. Like, there's obviously people who will disagree and be like, we don't need all of that to like have a.
Be happy.
Some people don't even want kids. Some people don't, whatever. I want as many kids as Matt will have, but just like for our family, I think it makes our lives so much more.
Yeah, I would say
tight-knit.
to anyone out there that like has any doubts, just, you know, I'm never going to be the type of guy that's like super pushy on religion and like forcing people to like, you know, be a part of Christianity. I think that God is going to find you and he'll give you many opportunities to jump in with him and be able to live the life that he wants you to live. I think that God gives us opportunities every day. It's just sometimes we overlook things.
Yeah.
But I would say that like just, you know, look at it where you are in life and maybe look at the time in your life. Let's say you were a Christian that you were believing and you kind of fell out of it and you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm embarrassed to go back. I could almost say that your life probably was better when you were in church and involved in prayer with God. And I don't want to cast judgment on anyone who's been through some tough shit, but just because you had a bad time as a Christian, like let's say you were dealing with some death or a bad time in your life, like it doesn't last forever. God will always be there to back you up. And at the end of the day, as a creator, I believe that God puts you through lessons because he thinks and knows that you can go through them. Mm-hmm. You just have to have faith in God and you have to trust in the process. A lot of times we go through really hard times in life and we have to realize that at the end of it, eventually it will end. And I have faith in a God. I have faith also in myself and my family and the people and the resources that God put in my life. I have faith in everything. And I'll power through all of that. So I would say that to anyone out there that is stumbling upon their way. But anyways, it's been a really good podcast, babe. Thank you for doing this with me.
Before when you cut it out. Yeah, don't ever be embarrassed to go back to God. I don't think like that's just a big thing that people are sometimes just like embarrassed to go back to God. That's not anything ever to be embarrassed about. And yeah. So I just wanted to add that, like, if you are embarrassed, don't be. Because I think that God just wants to be close with his kids and his people. Sometimes
we just fall. Oh, there's a quote. It's like, just because someone stumbled and lost their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. So
yeah, and I want people to really pay attention to, like, Matt's life. Because I think that ever since having like God be really close with you, like, and in your heart, I think like people will start to notice how much more blessed our lives are going to be because of it. And like when you follow God, you follow his plan for your life, how much more fruitful it becomes, you know? So I hope that like, you know, your friends, again, I hope that his friends will like notice, you know, that it's just like God has changed his life in some ways for sure.
Yeah, the quote is, just because someone stumbles and loses their way doesn't mean they're lost forever. So whether it's a month, whether it's a year, whether it's 15, 20 years, you're outside of church, whether you've never been to church a day in your life,
yeah, I
recommend just going, picking up a Bible, just reading a couple stories, getting a devotional for sure. And it costs you like maybe $30-$40. Return it if you don't like it.
Yeah, maximum.
Return it if you're like, this shit is not for me. But I promise you, if you're a man or you're a woman watching this, you're you know, in the middle or whatever, like just read it, read the word. And I promise you, these scriptures you'll be like, wow, that makes so much sense. You read the 10 Commandments, you're like, wait, that's actually right. Like there's some things in here. It's like, yeah, that'd be kind of fucked up if I killed somebody.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of fucked up.
Kind of fucked up to steal from somebody.
Or
You know,
it's
like
kinda-
why would I steal somebody else's property?
It doesn't feel good to like be jealous of somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't. There's a lot of, and that's just an example. But there's so many things in the Bible that you can read that you'll be like, wow, this is real deal cool stuff.
So cool. You even read like the verse that's about like love. You know, love is patient, love is kind, it does not boast, it is not angry. Like that's the kind of love that people want. And that's the kind of love that the Bible teaches us to have. So it's like you're like arguing with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You're like, why am I not feeling love? It's because you're not following the biblical structure of relationships. You're not following the way that God intended for it to be. If we followed it, which is very difficult, it's very hard, but if you just follow it the best you can, your relationships will be fruitful. It's just a matter of you deciding to take the right steps to go there.
100%. Well, anyways, guys, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. This has been Old School Matt. That's Annika Hansen. This has been another Buff Talk. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll check you guys out on the next one.
Hey guys, thank you guys for checking out this video. Make sure to go check out all of our other podcasts, Buffalo Barbecues, our Buffalo workouts, and also a slew of other things, including challenges and whatnot. So make sure to check out all of these different things. Thank you guys for watching. I am Old School Matt here, and this is Water Buffalo TM. Peace.